The foreclosure notice arrives on a Wednesday morning while I'm packing the last of my things into garbage bags. Not boxes. I can't afford boxes. The sheriff will be here tomorrow to escort me out of the house in Riverside, the one I lived in for 8 years, loved in for 7, and destroyed in 30 seconds of forgetting to close the bedroom curtains. My phone buzzes with another text from my mother. Found a women's shelter in Fresno that has space. Please come home. Home. As if I have one anymore. As if I didn't burn down everything that word meant when I decided our marital bed was just another piece of furniture, our vows just words, our life just something to gamble away for afternoon excitement. 10 weeks ago, I was Valerie Cross, 33 years old, married to Bradley, a logistics manager who loved me more than I deserved. Now I'm nobody, packing garbage bags in a house that will belong to the bank tomorrow, scrolling through my phone to see if any of the 17 job applications I sent yesterday got responses. They won't. They never do. Once they Google my name and find the neighborhood Facebook posts, the next door warnings, the Reddit threads about the woman on Maple Street. But I should explain how a forgotten curtain became my scarlet letter. How 30 seconds of stupidity turned me into the cautionary tale mothers whisper about at school pickup. The reason wives in our neighborhood started checking their husbands' phones. The woman who had everything and lit it on fire in broad daylight. Bradley wasn't supposed to be home that Tuesday afternoon. He never came home early. That was the entire point. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he had inventory meetings that ran until 6. Like clockwork. Dependable, predictable Bradley with his color-coded calendar and his meal-prepped lunches, and his absolute faith that I was exactly who I pretended to be. We'd been married 8 years. Good years, mostly. The kind of marriage everyone says they want. Stable, comfortable, no drama. Bradley brought me flowers every Friday, not because of fights or guilt, but because it's Friday and you deserve flowers. He fixed things before they broke, saved for tomorrow while living today, loved me steady and sure like breathing. You're lucky, my friend Harper would say. Bradley's one of the good ones. Lucky. That's what I thought my problem was. Too much luck, too much good, too much safe. I mistook contentment for boredom, confused stability with stagnation, thought that because our love was quiet, it wasn't enough. The real problem was Harper's brother Nolan. Nolan was everything Bradley wasn't. 35 and still bartending, living in a studio apartment downtown, dating women half his age who believed his stories about the screenplay he was writing, the band that was definitely getting signed, the big break that was always one connection away. He was Harper's embarrassment, the family failure she apologized for at dinners. But he was also 6'2" with arms covered in tattoos that told stories Bradley would never have. He rode a motorcycle that woke the whole neighborhood, wore leather jackets in California heat, had this smile that made you feel like you were in on some secret joke the rest of the world was too boring to understand. "Val," he said at Harper's 4th of July party, finding me alone by the pool, "you look bored out of your mind." "Just thinking," I said, watching Bradley help Harper's husband with the grill, responsible even at parties. Dangerous habit for a married woman. He sat too close, smelled like cigarettes and possibility. "What's got you thinking?" "Whether this is it," I heard myself say. "Whether this is all there is." "This?" He gestured at the suburban backyard, the married couples, the conversations about property taxes and school districts. God, I hope not. We talked until Bradley found us, his hand familiar on my lower back. "Ready to head home?" "Early morning tomorrow." "Of course he has an early morning," Nolan said after Bradley walked away to say goodbyes. "Bet he's never been late in his life." "He's reliable," I defended, but it sounded like an insult. "Reliable?" Nolan shook his head. "That what you tell yourself when he's scheduling your sex life?" I wanted to say something cutting, but all I felt was exposed. My face burned. That's none of your Thursday nights, right? After the gym but before the news? He was wrong. It was Wednesdays. But the fact that it could be scheduled, that our intimacy had a time slot like a dental cleaning, made something inside me crack. Here. Nolan slipped me a piece of paper. My number. For when reliable isn't enough. I should have thrown it away. Should have told Bradley. Should have recognized a predator who'd studied his prey. Instead, I put it in my pocket, carried it home like a live grenade, told myself I'd never use it. I lasted 2 weeks. The first text was innocent. Question about Harper's birthday gift. The second was less innocent. Can't stop thinking about our conversation. By the third week, I was deleting messages that would have broken Bradley's heart, telling myself that words weren't cheating, that thoughts weren't actions, that wanting wasn't the same as doing. You look different, Bradley said one morning, watching me apply makeup at 7 a.m. Special meeting today? Just felt like making an effort, I lied, knowing Nolan had texted about stopping by later. You always look beautiful, he said, kissing my temple. But this is nice too. I should have felt guilty. Instead, I felt irritated. Beautiful wasn't what I wanted to be anymore. I wanted to be dangerous, desired, the kind of woman men risked things for. Not the safe wife who got temple kisses before her husband left for his predictable job. The texts with Nolan escalated quickly. Within days, he was sending photos. First, innocent ones from his bartending shifts, then shirtless gym selfies, then suggestions of what he'd like to do if we were alone. I'd respond late at night while Bradley slept beside me, his steady breathing a soundtrack to my betrayal. What are you smiling at? Bradley asked once, catching me mid-text at 2 a.m. Just a funny meme from Harper, I said, deleting a message about how Nolan wanted to taste every inch of me. Can't sleep? Want to talk? No, go back to sleep. You have that early meeting. He always had an early meeting. Always had somewhere responsible to be. Meanwhile, I was sexting with a bartender who lived on his friend's couch half the time. The first time Nolan came to the house, I'd planned every detail. Waited until Tuesday, Bradley's long inventory day. Cleaned the house obsessively like I was preparing for a date instead of destroying my marriage. Bought expensive lingerie with our joint credit card, telling myself Bradley would never check the statements anyway. He trusted me to handle the household expenses. Nice place, Nolan said, looking around our living room. Very suburban dream. The way he said it made our life sound like a prison sentence. I saw our home through his eyes, the matched furniture sets, the wedding photos in coordinated frames, the throw pillows that served no purpose except to look married. Want a tour? I asked, already leading him upstairs. Just the important rooms, he said, and we both knew he wasn't talking about the kitchen. I took him to the guest room first. Told myself that was better somehow, that our bedroom was sacred. But sacred to what? A marriage I was actively destroying? A husband I was betraying with every breath? Working late again? I'd ask Bradley when he called, already knowing the answer. Inventory's a mess this quarter, should be home by 7. Want me to pick up dinner? I'll handle it, I'd say, already texting Nolan that I had the house to myself. I became an expert at deception, deleted texts immediately, cleared browser history, used cash for wine and lingerie, created elaborate lies about where I was, who I was with, why I seemed different. The lying became second nature, easier than breathing. You've been going to the gym a lot, Bradley noticed when I came home flushed one afternoon. Trying that new Pilates class, I said, still feeling Nolan's hands on my body. Really works up a sweat. Good for you. You seem happier lately, more confident. He was right, but for all the wrong reasons. I was confident because another man wanted me, happy because I had a secret that made me feel special. The gym membership I'd bought to explain my absences went unused while I spent afternoons in Nolan's crappy studio apartment or sneaking him into our home. The first time he came over, we just talked. sat on my couch, Bradley's and my couch, drinking wine I'd bought for our anniversary. He told me about his travels, his plans, all the places that weren't Riverside. Made me feel like my life was a cage I'd locked myself in. "You could leave," he said, playing with my wedding ring. "People do it all the time." "It's not that simple. I love my husband." "Do you? Or do you love the security?" I didn't answer because I wasn't sure anymore. Did I love Bradley or just the life he provided? The house, the stability, the knowledge that he'd never leave, never cheat, never be anything but exactly what he was? The second time Nolan came over, we crossed every line. "Not here," I said when he pulled me toward the couch. "Why not?" "Afraid the furniture will judge you?" But I led him upstairs anyway, to the guest room with its neutral bedding and lack of memories. Told myself this was better, cleaner somehow, like having a designated space for betrayal made it less of one. Afterwards, lying in the guest bed, I waited for guilt. Instead, I felt electric, alive. Like I'd been sleepwalking through life and finally woken up. "See?" Nolan traced patterns on my bare shoulder. "Didn't burst into flames? Bradley would die if he knew." Would he? Or would he just update his spreadsheet and move on? The cruelty in his words should have warned me. But I was too intoxicated by being wanted to notice that Nolan didn't actually care about me. I was just another conquest, another bored wife to add to his collection. The wedding ring made it more exciting for him. The challenge of it, the power of making someone break their vows. It happened in the living room first, fast and guilty, like teenagers afraid of being caught. Then slower in the guest room because somehow our bedroom felt too sacred to violate. By the fourth visit, that boundary was gone too. I was serving him lunch in bed, our bed, on a Tuesday afternoon, feeling powerful and reckless and nothing like the suburban wife I'd become. "You should see your face right now," Nolan said, tracing my collarbone. "You look alive for the first time since I met you." Alive. That's what I told myself I was doing, choosing to live, to feel, to be more than Bradley's reliable wife in our reliable life. I wasn't destroying my marriage. I was saving myself from suffocating in it. The Tuesday it ended started like all the others. Bradley left at 7:30, kissing my cheek while I pretended to sleep. I texted Nolan before Bradley's car left the driveway. Spent the morning cleaning, preparing, transforming back into someone worth wanting. I'd developed a ritual. Shower with the expensive body wash I hid in the back of the linen closet. Shave everything. Apply the perfume Bradley was allergic to, the one I told him I'd thrown away. Put on lingerie that cost more than our weekly grocery budget, charged to a credit card Bradley didn't know I'd opened. The ritual made me feel powerful, in control, like I was choosing this instead of being consumed by it. Nolan texted at noon. "Running late? Business to handle." Business. Probably another woman, another conquest, another bored wife in another suburb. I poured myself wine to stop the jealous thoughts. Then another glass. Then finished the bottle because facing what I'd become was easier with a buzz. He arrived at 1, later than usual, but I didn't care. I was already drunk on anticipation and the bottle of wine I'd opened at noon. He smelled like someone else's perfume, but I pretended not to notice. Pretended I was special, different, worth more than his usual Tuesday afternoon appointment. We went straight to the bedroom. Mine and Bradley's, the one with the wedding photos still on the dresser. The one where we'd tried for 3 years to have a baby before accepting it wouldn't happen. The bedroom where Bradley had held me while I cried about negative pregnancy tests, where he'd whispered that we were enough, just the two of us, that we didn't need children to be a family. "Leave the curtains," Nolan said when I moved to close them. "Let the suburban prisoners see how it's done." I laughed, wild and careless. Our bedroom faced the backyard, not the street. Nobody would see. And if they did, what did I care? I was alive, wasn't I? I was choosing passion over predictability, wasn't I? I was finally the heroine of my own story instead of a supporting character in Bradley's. The curtains stayed open, sheer fabric that did nothing to hide what happened next. In full daylight, in the bed where my husband slept, I gave myself to a man who couldn't remember my middle name. And I did it enthusiastically, desperately, like I was trying to prove something to the universe about who I really was. We were deep in our performance when I heard it. The garage door opening. "That's not possible," I said, freezing. "He's at work." "So?" Nolan didn't stop moving. "Let him catch us." Might do him good, but I was already pushing him off, scrambling for clothes, trying to remember where I'd thrown my underwear. The garage door meant 90 seconds before Bradley walked through the kitchen. 89. 88. "Get dressed!" I hissed at Nolan, who was watching me panic with amusement. "Why?" "This is what you wanted, right? Drama? Excitement?" "This isn't a game." "Sure it is." He stretched out on our bed like he owned it. "And you're about to win." I could hear Bradley's footsteps in the kitchen. Heard him set down his keys in the ceramic bowl I'd made at that pottery class he'd bought me for Christmas. Heard him call out, "Val!" "You home? Meeting got canceled." I did the only thing I could think of. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door, leaving Nolan naked in our bed like a confession I couldn't take back. "Val?" Bradley's voice was closer now, coming up the stairs. "You okay?" I turned on the shower, tried to find words that would stop what was about to happen. But there were no words for this, no explanation that would prevent the next 30 seconds from destroying everything. I heard the bedroom door open. Then silence. The kind of silence that has weight, that presses against your chest, that sounds like a heart breaking in real time. "What the fuck?" Bradley's voice didn't sound like Bradley. It was too high, too harsh, too confused. "Hey, man," Nolan said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "Valerie's in the shower. She'll be right out." More silence, then footsteps, fast, purposeful, going back down the stairs. The front door opening. Not slamming, just opening and closing like any other day. I stayed in the bathroom for 20 minutes with the water running, staring at my reflection until the mirror fogged over and I couldn't see myself anymore. When I finally came out, Nolan was dressed, scrolling through his phone like he was waiting for an Uber. "Well," he said, "that was exciting. Get out." "Come on, Val, you're free now. This is what you wanted." "I said get out." He shrugged, kissed my forehead like we were lovers parting after coffee. "Call me when you're done being dramatic." After he left, I sat on my bed, the bed that would never be ours again, and tried to understand what I'd done. The sheets smelled like cologne that wasn't Bradley's. There was a condom wrapper visible in the trash can. Our wedding photo faced me from the nightstand, both of us smiling at a future I'd just murdered. Bradley didn't come home that night, or the next. On the third day, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Bradley's attorney. Please don't contact my client directly. We'll be in touch regarding next steps." The divorce papers came a week later. Bradley wanted everything. The house, the car, the life we'd built. I learned quickly that while Illinois is a no-fault state, adultery becomes a very big fault when it comes to dividing up a life. His lawyer had been thorough. Credit card statements showing wine purchases on Tuesday afternoons, neighbors who'd seen Nolan's motorcycle, the security camera footage from our doorbell that I'd forgotten existed. But the worst part was the witness statement from Mr. Patterson next door. He'd been trimming his hedges when Bradley came home. Saw him walk to the side of the house, confused by the motorcycle. Watched him look through our bedroom window, the one with the open curtains, the one that showed everything. "He stood there for maybe 30 seconds, Mr. Patterson's statement read. "Just watching. Then he walked back to his car and left. Looked like he aged 10 years in those 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That's how long Bradley watched his wife with another man in their bed. 30 seconds of seeing what couldn't be unseen, knowing what couldn't be unknown. 30 seconds that turned 8 years into nothing. The full truth came out in the divorce proceedings. Bradley's lawyer read his statement in a clinical voice that made my skin crawl. My client observed the respondent engaged in sexual intercourse with an unknown male in the marital bed. He observed for approximately 30 seconds before returning to his vehicle. 30 seconds. Long enough for him to see Nolan's tattooed back. Long enough for him to see my face turned toward the window in ecstasy. Long enough for him to see our wedding photo on the nightstand, a silent witness to my performance. But the lawyer's words were nothing compared to the one text Bradley sent before cutting me off forever. The detail that guts me even now. I saw you laughing. While destroying our marriage, I was laughing. The memory makes me sick now. Nolan had said something crude about suburban wives, and I'd laughed like I wasn't one of them, like I was somehow above the life I'd chosen, the man I'd married, the promises I'd made. The neighborhood found out within days. Riverside was small, gossip traveled fast, and Bradley's obvious absence combined with Nolan's motorcycle suddenly disappearing became a story that told itself. But the details that emerged were devastating. Mrs. Chen from 2 houses down had seen Bradley in his car after, just sitting in the driveway with his head in his hands. He sat there for 20 minutes, she told anyone who'd listen. Just sat there like he was trying to wake up from a nightmare. The teenage Parker boy had been mowing lawns that day. He saw Bradley walk back to his car like a zombie. Saw him drive away at exactly 1:47 p.m. He remembered because he was tracking his hours. "Mr. Cross looked like someone died," he said. "Guess someone did in a way." Even our mailman, Jerry, had noticed. Bradley was the kind of guy who'd wait for the mail, always had a friendly word. After that Tuesday, never saw him again. Just the divorce papers I had to deliver. Signature required. The wife had to sign for her own ending. I became the woman who'd cheated so brazenly she'd forgotten to close the curtains. The cautionary tale about taking good men for granted. The neighborhood WhatsApp group apparently had a field day. I know because Harper screenshot some of the messages before blocking me. Always thought she was too good for him. Guess she thought so too. Poor Bradley. 8 years down the drain. Did you see the motorcycle? Classic midlife crisis. She's 33. That's not midlife, that's just selfish. How could you? Harper asked when she finally answered my calls. In your own bed? With my brother? Bradley loved you. I know, I said, because what else was there to say? That I'd been bored? That I'd wanted to feel special? That I'd confused stability with suffocation and traded everything for nothing? He's staying with his sister in Sacramento, she said. Don't try to contact him. And Valerie, don't contact me either. I can't look at you knowing what you did to him, what you used my brother to do. The house sold fast. Bradley priced it to move, wanting to be done with every reminder of us. I got 60 days to vacate and a small settlement that disappeared into lawyer fees and the debts I'd accumulated, pretending I was single. Nolan vanished the moment things got complicated, probably telling some new bored wife about his screenplay, his band, his big break that was coming any day now. I heard Bradley's doing well, my mother said during one of her calls. Lisa ran into him in Sacramento. He's got a promotion, joined a hiking group, looks happy. Happy. Without me. Because of me. The man who'd loved me steady and sure had found happiness in my absence, while I'd found nothing but the truth about who I really was. Today is my last day in this house. Tomorrow I'll take my garbage bags and my ruined reputation and start over somewhere where nobody knows about the woman who forgot to close the curtains, where I can pretend I'm just divorced, not the villain in a story everyone tells as a warning. But I'll know. Every time I see a couple holding hands, every time I pass a house with curtains drawn, every time someone mentions their reliable husband, I'll know. I'm the woman who had a good man's love and threw it away for afternoons with someone who couldn't remember my last name 6 months later. The woman who thought scheduling meant boring, who mistook consistency for complacency, who learned too late that some thrills cost everything. 10 weeks since Bradley came home early. 10 weeks since 30 seconds at a window showed him who I really was. 10 weeks since I learned that curtains exist for a reason, that some things shouldn't be seen, that when you perform your betrayal like a show, sometimes you get an audience you never wanted. My phone buzzes. Another message from my mother about the shelter. I'll go because I have nowhere else, nothing else, no one else. I'll start over at 33 with garbage bags and regret. The woman who had everything and traded it for the kind of excitement that leaves you alone in an empty house. Packing up the ruins of a life you destroyed because you were bored on a Tuesday afternoon. The curtains in the bedroom are closed now, have been for 10 weeks. But it doesn't matter anymore. The damage is done, the show is over, the audience has gone home to their reliable spouses and their scheduled lives and their curtains that stay closed when they should. And me? I'm just another cautionary tale about what happens when you forget that windows work both ways, that some performances have prices, that when you stage your betrayal in the bed you shared with a good man, sometimes he comes home early enough to see exactly who you really are. 10 weeks since the curtains stayed open, a lifetime left wishing they hadn't.